All right, so welcome. Now we started class officially. So Rafa's here to help us out today, and Ken as always, which is great. We're waiting for Bob to come because he's supposed to play some music. If you remember from last Monday, he said he would come today and play some music for us, and he's even asking us about songs. So we'll see if Bob comes in. If not, that's fine. And so today is going to be a very difficult topic, or maybe a new topic for you, something that might not be as easy as you think. So it could be a little bit difficult. It's kind of a higher level grammar. And so let me go ahead and screen share in a moment here. We're going to talk about adjectives, but they're gradable and non-gradable adjectives. Okay. So this is what it is. Gradable and non-gradable. Do you have any idea of what this gradable and non-gradable means? Is there a root word or base word in here? Is there nothing?
I don't know. I'm just going to guess. Is something gradable something you can intensify or not?
Ooh. Sounds good to me. Ken, do you have any ideas?
I'm very sick. I'm very. It is very hot, very cold, or it's slightly cold. Something you can add a degree or something like that.
Okay, sure. Yep. Ken, do you have any idea of what these could be or not? Any?
No, I don't have any.
Perfect. Well, it's not a bad thing because Rafa did, and he's right. So we're going to go down here a little bit. And Rafa, why don't you go ahead and read this for us?
Gradable. Gradable adjectives show that something can have different levels of intensity. An example could be cold, as it can be a little cold or very cold.
So basically what you said. Okay, so there's different levels of intensity here. That's the main idea. So I'm pretty sure this word gradable comes from grade, for example, and the grade is kind of like a degree. There's different grades in the system, for example. In the US, we use A, B, C, D, and F. Here for grades, they use numbers 1 to 10. So they all have different levels. Does that make sense? And so I think that might be where it comes from. Okay. So these are gradable, and they have different levels of intensity. For example, a little or very. The other one, the non-gradable. Ken, could you read this? Oops. For us? What is going on? 1 second.
Okay. Non-gradable. Non-gradable adjectives are adjectives like married or wooden. There is only one level of intensity with this adjective. You can't be very married or a bit married. Let's see.
Okay, or very wooden or a bit wooden. There's really, it's wooden or not, basically. See, my cat right now is running around crazily. So he's crazy right now. He's I wish everyone could see him. He's so cute. Okay, so again, non-gradable. Oh, what did I do? How am I touching things that I'm not trying? I don't know how this works out. So, one moment. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some other types of adjectives and the cats are coming. Oh, oh gosh, are they crazy today? Okay, so Rafa, could you please read this paragraph for us? The second one.
There are other adjectives like terrifying, freezing, amazing that are also non-gradable adjectives. They already imply the meaning of very. Freezing means very cold.
Exactly. So then we have other more difficult, if you say, for example, oh, I'm freezing. Well, of course it means very cold. It's not just cold, it's very cold. And so when you have that implied, then you're not going to use, a bit, very, etc., etc. These are their intensifiers, we call them. Any questions with this so far?
So if I say very freezing, it sounds strange for native speakers.
Correct.
I see.
Okay. I mean, freezing is the coldest of the cold. You can't be any more cold than freezing.
I see.
People freeze to death, like it's cold. Do you know what I mean? So you're at one end of the spectrum, and what? The opposite end of the spectrum would be hot. But it's not just hot, it's extremely or very hot. And that could be, for the example, the word scorching. Scorching means it's extremely hot, you're on fire, basically. Excuse me. So when you're at either end of the spectrum, you can't add any intensifiers or intensity or levels to that.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Does it sound okay for you when you say very freezing?
Maybe I might say very freezing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're extremely, extremely, extremely cold.
Right.
So, no, that's fine. This is one of those classes that you're going to kind of understand and hear. Like you said, you might not have, or you might have said very freezing, and that's fine. Hey, I understand what you mean. You're extremely cold. Now, you wouldn't hear us say that, and that's okay. But you still understand that you want to intensify the situation, all right? And that's great. And so now today we're going to kind of learn a little bit more about the topic and the words that you can and cannot intensify. And also for future reference, you can start to think, well, are there different levels of intensity, or is it just one kind of word? Do you know what I mean? It's, for example, it's going to, with the gradable, such as cold or hot or whatever, there's different levels of, temperatures. And so that you can easily see that there are levels of intensity. Whereas married, it's one or the other. Just like if something's wooden, maybe there's a little wooden part, but that part is still wooden. And that's, yes, it's wooden then. Okay? It's not like, well, it's wooden, but it changes. It doesn't change. Okay? So it's yes or no with the non-gradable. Now, the confusing ones are the ones that we saw here with terrifying. I'm extremely terrified. And now I wonder if that changes with the ing versus the ed. Extremely terrified. She was extremely terrified. Okay, so actually, that might make sense. So this is going to be one of those subcategories of this makes sense in this case, but not in other cases. So actually, I'm just going to type that out. She was extremely terrified. I'm going to say that sounds okay. Because it's not just that she was terrified, but she was extremely terrified. So this is a feeling of someone. But when we have it in the ing form, terrifying. That train ride was terrifying. Extremely terrifying. All right, help me out here. What do you guys think?
As a non-native speaker, I don't know.
This is what happens when we speak incorrectly. All right, let me get some help here. Adjectives. What am I trying to say? Adjective plus, what's my plus ing? Oof, this is going to be difficult. Can be used in the computer superlatives. Let's find good acronyms. Okay, so this is definitely more. I knew this wasn't going to go up perfect today. Anyway, let's continue on. Hopefully I'll find this answer that I'm looking for, and we'll come back to it. Okay? So, Ken, could you please read this next part?
Okay, using adverbs of degree. When we use adverbs of degree to modify adjectives, we usually have to use different adverbs for gradable and non-gradable adjectives. Note, I'm completely cold. Note, it was very fantastic.
All right. Do you have questions with this?
I think I would say it was so fantastic.
Okay.
Wrong? Is it wrong?
So no, that's correct.
But
we use
no.
so.
Okay, I'll go ahead.
Well, in this case, you would be comparing so and such. So with so, we use an adjective, and such we use we use a noun. Okay, so plus adjective, and then such plus noun phrase probably. Okay.
It was so fantastic is correct, but it was very fantastic is not correct.
Right. And so there are specific intensifiers that go with gradable and non-gradable words. And the non-gradable, normally you wouldn't use any intensifier. Sorry, I think my cat just vomited. So I'm watching him and I can't see anything. So great. I've got a little surprise for you after class today. Anyway, so right. So these I'm completely cold. We wouldn't use completely with cold. We would use I'm very cold. So we would use a different adverb of degree or intensifier in this case. It was super fantastic. Sure. That's something we say a lot. That's something we say a lot in the United States too, is super. So that's something else.
How about totally? Totally cold. Totally
fantastic. Totally fantastic. Okay, so if you're looking at cold, this is a wait a second. Cold is gradable because there are different degrees of being cold. Fantastic. Something is fantastic, yes or no. It wasn't like, oh, it was a little fantastic. It was okay. All right, so we would use different words. And this is where my native abilities come in, because I know what sounds good mostly. Apparently not always. But in this case, very fantastic, we do not use.
Okay.
Does that kind of help?
Yes. Collocation. Yes.
Kind of, yes. I don't know if I would technically call it a collocation, but we'll look at something a little bit later that might help explain this a little bit. So, Rafa, do you have any questions?
No, it's okay.
All right, so let me go down. Actually, I'm going to delete this because I've measured out everything. So, let's see. Rafa, I think it's your turn. So why don't you go ahead and read these for us, okay?
Okay. With gradable adjectives. It's a bit hot in here. He's very interested in history. This exercise is really difficult. I'm extremely tired. The adverbs a bit, very, really, extremely, and quite cannot be used with gradable adjectives.
All right, Ken, so this is what I was talking about, is there's specific intensifiers, the ones in bold, that we use with the gradable adjectives, okay? Any questions with this?
No.
Okay, so it doesn't have to make sense, but what you have to know is that it can be quite hot, extremely hot, really hot, very hot, or a bit hot. Okay, so you can use all of these. All right. The same with he's very interested. He's extremely. He's a bit interested, not too much, but a little. He's quite okay. So we do other ones that we can use too, but these are for example, the main ones. All right. Any questions with these?
I have a basic question about quite. Does it mean enough or something different?
Well, I think because of my knowledge of Spanish, I'm going to say that you are translating to Portuguese, probably. That's the word I use in Spanish, basically. Okay? Quite. Quite is actually, I have this explanation here. So let's go through these. It's a really good question, but let's talk. So these are different intensifiers, okay? So what we're going to do is compare really, very, really, very, extremely in this case. Okay, and I just deleted that comma here because we don't use a comma before a connector and as a connector. So really and very are strong, okay? These words make the meaning of that adjective or adverb more intense or powerful. The meaning of really and very is similar to the intensifier extremely. So they're all very similar. Okay, these three. And that's so really and really we don't have here, but we'll see that later. I'm sorry, rarely we do have all of these. Okay. So that's that. Now, going to, oh yes, we have examples. I'm sorry. So she did very well on her math test. She didn't only do well, she did extremely well. Okay. So these are different uses of these intensifiers. Okay. The water is really cold. The water isn't just cold, it's extremely cold. Also here, we could just say the water is freezing. Okay. We could also say, for example, in the sentence above, she did amazing on her math test. Okay. So we can, and then if you say amazing, well, that means very well. So we can't put very amazing. Does that make sense?
Very amazing sounds weird for me.
Good. That's good. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, is when we actually use a higher, more intense adjective, then we can't use an intensifier because it's implied with that word, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's continue on. There's a couple more examples. There's one more example here that we didn't look at, or not. I guess there's not. Never mind. All right, so quite. The intensifier quite adds strength, but not as much as really or very. The amount of intensity is noticeable and more than expected. Okay, so I'm quite tired, for example. Maybe people are looking at me and they think I look tired, possibly because it's true. Now the other one is more expected. Well, no, wait a second. I slept well last night, but I'm quite tired. I'm more tired than I expected because I slept well. Then the entertainment was quite good. Basically meaning that the entertainment was noticeably good. You know, it was better than the speaker expected. Okay? Does that make sense?
Oh yes, quite good. Okay. Quite has such meaning.
Yes.
Okay. More than the expectation.
Yeah, kind of like that you were a little bit surprised. Like, oh yeah, I went to this concert. It was quite good. It was better than I expected.
Okay.
All right, Rafa, any questions or comments with this?
No, that's okay.
Okay. Let's go down here for a moment. And then, for example, another example is vultures are quite common in this area, meaning that vultures are noticeably common. People see them quite a bit. More common than you might expect. Okay. Any questions or comments about this?
What is vultures?
A vulture is the type of bird that eats things that are dying.
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, Rafa, do you know the word in Portuguese? I want to see if it's similar to the word in Spanish.
Which word?
The word vulture. It's a type of bird. Do you know what it is?
I know, but it's totally different in Portuguese. There's nothing. It's not. It's not equal. It's too
No.
different from English.
Right. Okay. No, I was curious about this, like compared to Spanish. That's all.
In Portuguese, it's like this one.
Oh. Okay. No, that's it. No, it's something completely else. Okay. No problem. All right. Well, let's move on here. Dun, 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 dun. And then different intensifiers. We have fairly, pretty, and somewhat. I think it's Rafa's turn to read.
Okay. Fairly, pretty, and somewhat. Fairly and pretty weaken adverbs and adjectives. They'll tell you that the quality described by the adverb or adjective is present, but only to a limited extent. As shown in the examples below, the meaning of fairly and pretty is similar to the meaning of another intensifier, somewhat.
All right. So fairly, pretty, somewhat. I mean, to me, pretty, quite, and really have always been the same. So now I've discovered that they're not. What about you two? I mean, you've heard of fairly and pretty, but what about somewhat? Have you ever seen somewhat before?
Yes.
Oh.
I was thinking, somewhat is weaker than fairy and pretty, but same equal amount of intensity.
Yes. Rafa, have you ever seen somewhat before?
Yes, but I don't remember the circumstances I've seen, but yes, I've read it somewhere.
Okay. So we could say, for example, I'm somewhat ready to go. I'm almost, even though I still have things to do, for example. Or it's somewhat sunny. It's a little sunny, but it's also cloudy today. So to me, this kind of gives me the 50-50. Fairly, to be fair, is 50-50. Pretty is, like I said, it's similar to the quite and really, but I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't think that they would necessarily weaken. I mean, they're still intensifiers. They intensify, or I should say, maybe detensify. But yes.
Does it mean almost? Or no, it's different.
It's different. It's different. Almost means basically. If we look at percentages, almost would be, it's almost full, let's say 75 to 90%, I would say. Okay, for fairly, pretty, and somewhat, I would be about 50%. Does that make sense?
Okay.
No. All right, well, let's continue on here. We can always come back to this. So here we have some examples, okay? So it's a fairly common disease. Oh, and I knew I was going to do this. I was doing this quickly. Get out of here. Okay, I wanted to underline the intensifier. So fairly common, meaning it's not common, but it's not rare either. It's more or less common. And this is where I was saying that fair, to be fair, is 50-50. It's, equal. So that's where I'm coming up with this 50%, if that makes sense. All right. Now, this next one is that was pretty good, but not great. So we have bad, pretty good, great as far as intensities. And obviously bad is negative and great is really good. But this was pretty good. Well, it wasn't good or bad. It was okay. It was pretty good. It was fine. It's fine. And then I have to leave pretty soon. Now, pretty soon is maybe like one of these common phrases that we have or that just go together. So I don't have to leave right now, but I can't stay for much longer. So pretty soon, within a little bit. Okay? So I think this one has a different meaning than other ones. Guys, what do you think?
If I say I have to leave soon, and I have to leave pretty soon, which is later?
Just soon.
Soon is later than pretty soon.
Pretty soon means like really soon, like within a really little bit, and then soon is in a while.
Okay, so pretty soon is faster than.
Yep, more immediate.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Rafa, any questions from your side?
No, it's quite understandable.
Well, perfect. So let me go ahead and move down here. So now we're going to look at non-gradable adjectives, and this could be where the questions happen, okay? So, Ken, could you read these examples for us, please?
Okay. It's absolutely freezing in here. He's completely fascinated by history. This exercise is absolutely impossible. The film is really terrifying.
So, with these non-gradable adjectives, we can use these intensifiers. Absolutely, completely, absolutely, really. Okay? So actually, I'm going to do a little trick here. We're going to look at the synonyms. So unconditionally, unquestionably, categorically, undeniably, unequivocally, without question, totally, completely. So totally and completely here at the end is really what would be great substitutes for this. Now, if we want to get more in depth, we can use unconditionally, undeniably. There's other words. So that's always something that you can look at too, thanks to Microsoft. Okay. I want to move down here and again look at some more examples. So the adverbs absolutely and completely can be used with non-gradable adjectives and really can be used with gradable and non-gradable adjectives. So when you aren't sure what to do, aren't sure what to say, you're supposed to use really, okay? And that's basically it. How do you feel after this? It's a very difficult topic. It's something that if it's new to you, then it's going to be extremely difficult. Once you understand the gradable and non-gradable adjectives and what those are, then it won't be that difficult. Does anyone have any comments?
Maybe, that's a kind of the good part of, not checking the meaning in native language. I mean, English-Japanese dictionary cannot express this kind of connotation maybe of the word.
Right. These are very specific, and it's, it kind of reminds me of the countable and uncountable nouns, whereas you have to use, the countable nouns a certain way versus, the uncountable nouns, like much and many. Okay, much we use with uncountables. I have much time. I'm just trying to think of an example, and it's not happening as fast as I'd like. But again, this really kind of represents the a lot of, because a lot of you can use for both countable and uncountable nouns.
Right. Yes.
So there are similarities between the two. It's a very similar idea. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about these nouns, these super intense nouns? Adjectives, I should say. I'm sorry. The adjectives. For example, terrifying. Or something like that. Well, let me try something. I'm actually going to go to kind of a different thing here. And I want to test your abilities. Okay, finally, now we're on the next page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put up something, and I want you to try and think of the word. Okay, so for example, no. Okay, so if I say I'm absolutely of spiders, and I want it to mean scared, I'm really scared of spiders. So this one would be gradable, and this one is going to be a non-gradable. What do you think this word could be?
Okay. So maybe the scared for gradables, which means scaring, is for non-gradable. Mm-hmm. Scary, I got it. Terrifying.
I'm absolutely terrified of spiders.
Terrifying.
Spiders are absolutely terrifying. Okay, so now we've got different adjectives here. One with the ed and one with the ing. Do you know which one is for who?
Who? What do you mean who?
Well, I mean, I have the same. We have absolutely in both sentences. Absolutely, absolutely. Oops, absolutely. In this one, I have an ed at the end of the adjective, and this one I have an ing.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Maybe the first guess, because it's I is the subject, so could be either I was scared. I am scared by spiders. But second guess, spiders, since spiders subject, so maybe could be that person's opinion or general opinion.
All right, exactly. Now, one of the ways I like to explain this, and it doesn't always work, but for a good part of it, if you look at the ed and you take this d and you flip it over, it's going to turn into a p, a letter P. This P, I think, represents people. People. I am a person, and that's what I think. Okay? Now, spiders is the subject of the sentence, but they're not people. I mean, spiders might have feelings, and spiders are terrified of cats. I don't know, for example.
Maybe humans.
Right. Maybe. Spiders are terrified of humans. Yes. In this case, we're just talking about the general subject. We're not necessarily saying that the spiders are terrifying them. Wait. We are saying that. Spiders are absolutely terrifying to me, in my opinion. I'm a human. All right? But it's the structure of the sentence here that changes the endings. Okay? So, for example, I was bored. The movie was boring. Okay? So, I was bored. Again, the ed ending is going to represent the people or person. So, that's me. Then in this part, I have the movie was boring. Now, the movie is a thing. It's a noun. And we're using the verb with an ing ending. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
No. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just wondering if I should say anything else about this. Basically, yeah, the ed is for how people feel. Okay. And the ing is more about how it causes emotion. Okay. So I can be terrified, but spiders are terrifying. All right. Well, anyway. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to. So I'm absolutely terrified. All right, let's think of a different one. I'm extremely something. Oops, and it means hungry. So what word do you think? Wait, then I wouldn't use extremely, sorry. I am just not on the ball today. Definitely not. So if I wanted to say extremely hungry, what's one word that I could use?
Starving?
Exactly. I'm starving. I'm so hungry. Okay. So that's okay?
Yes, for me.
Okay. What about, oops. So I didn't like the food. It was disgusting. It was extremely disgusting. Can I say that?
No.
No. Disgusting. Yeah, it's like one of those things. It was. No, hold on. So I did that incorrectly. I wanted to say. I can't even get this right today. It was really unpleasant food or disgusting. I knew this class was not going to go really as well as I wanted it to. But does this make sense? I mean, do you see where I'm going with this?
So, can I say it was really disgusting?
Not technically. I mean, I'm sure you will hear people say that, but no, you normally wouldn't.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question, but not specific about these adjectives. About rather, can I use rather in the same situation as quite, or no? They're different.
Yes, you can say it's rather windy. It's So that's a whole nother point. Yeah, I didn't really think of that. It's pretty windy. And so that would go into the category of fairly. Into this one. rather. So technically weekends. It's pretty. I don't know if I technically like the word weekends. I don't think it weakens. It intensifies the adjective, okay, or adverb that we're working with. Do we have other questions? No? Okay. Let me. Okay. Okay. So if I say I'm a ridiculous, not absolutely, absolutely ridiculous idea, you could say I have a silly idea. So again, silly is kind of the normal adjective, but then if you want to intensify, it's absolutely ridiculous. Does that make sense? Do you kind of see where I'm going? Like I said, I'm not doing this correctly at all. I'm trying to do this opposite, but it's not working.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so let's try, for example, the adjective just big. All right, big. Absolutely. Okay, so if I wanted to change this and just say something, okay, so something's big. Okay, fine. But what if something is bigger than big? How would you say that?
Huge.
Absolutely huge. Exactly. Okay. What if I wanted to say something was small? To say something small, I would say very
Tiny.
tiny. Exactly. I don't know about that one. Okay, so anything else? What about something that's tasty or tastes good? It's
delicious.
Delicious. All right, so there's a lot of different things that, and so tasty's good. Okay, great. But if I want to really intensify that, this is what I'm going to say. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any questions with that?
Yeah, I heard saying yummy is childish, right? Yummy.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I guess you could say that. Yummy. Yeah, it's more for kids, but I mean, it depends.
Okay.
If you're talking with your friends, it doesn't matter. But yes, it is pretty childish.
Okay.
At least you wouldn't say yummy, yummy in my tummy. That's extremely childish.
What does that mean? Yummy, yummy, tummy?
No, it's yummy. Oops. Yummy, yummy in my tummy, in your stomach.
Ah, tummy means stomach.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you say, if you're a kid, my tummy hurts, and that means you have basically a stomach ache.
Oh, I see.
Okay, cool. At least we learned some more vocabulary today. It's complicated. It's even, like I said, even difficult for me to explain this kind of well enough, you know, for you to understand it. But anyway, that's kind of it. So, any final questions for now?
No,
Yeah. Do you know whether or not there is a list of gradable and non-gradable adjectives you can search?
Yeah.
Somewhere?
Go ahead. You just put gradable and non-gradable adjectives into Google or whatever browser you use, and those will come up. Trust me. There's information about it. Some might be easier to understand than others. Okay. But yeah, there's information. There's some stuff in what's the British Council website, because that's a charity, so they have some stuff on there.
Okay.
I don't have one specific for you to go to, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, there's information, and part of it is just listening to, because Ken, before you said, "Oh, it just doesn't sound good." Well, it's because you've heard it used. What was it? The word "amazing" many times, and you've never heard it used with this specific intensifier. Okay. And then with other ones, you just aren't sure because you haven't been exposed. You haven't heard it enough to really, or used it enough to really understand if it sounds good or not. So, but anyway, yes, I think this is probably C1 level stuff. I mean, it's pretty intense. So, with that, I think if you don't have any other questions, we're going to stop for today. Okay, again, like I said, next class is about getting along with your coworkers again. It's super important that you do that, or working with people you don't like, I should say, or you dislike, because don't like is a little bit stronger. So I think, your work environment is super important. Plus, it's also the people that you do work with. So if you don't work with some really nice people, or you don't work with people who are going to help you and support you, it's really not a good situation. And so you should get along with them, and hopefully everything will work out perfectly fine. So that's it. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
All right. Well,
it was very informative.
Good. I hope so. I don't feel like I did that great with it today. And I'm just surprised that Bob didn't come to class because he was supposed to play music for us. So maybe next week. I don't know. I thought he left the 15th. But anyway, thanks for joining. All right. And hopefully you can learn some more information and use it correctly in the future. That's everything. Ow, what was my funny bone? Okay. Well, I need to go get some drink. My throat hurts. I don't know if I'm getting sick or what, but this is not good. So have a great day. Thanks for coming, and we will see you on Wednesday, okay?
Okay. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.